So I'm making today a wrap dress in our Mermaid everyday jersey. So I'll just do that. Okay, I'm starting with the bodice. I have the bodice back here, right sides up, and two fronts. I'll start by attaching the shoulder seams. So I'm placing right sides together and serging the shoulders. This color doesn't show up super well on my on video. It's on the blue side of dark teal. It's called Mermaid. Alright, so I have here the neckband and the sleeves, and these sleeves are cuffed, like a short sleeve with a binding. So I'm just going to stitch the bindings, just one of the bindings as a placeholder, so that way I can just keep the serge continuous, and I will pin the neckband on. So just like when I'm well, just with all easing, I tend to pin by dividing in half. So I'll mark the center back and then the center of the neckband and start there. And this is the sort of the wrap of the bodice. It narrows at the waist, and the whole bodice is wrapped in this band. So I'm dividing the extra fullness on either side and pinning the center. And it's not too much of a gather, so I'll probably only do that one more time on each side. And here I'll pin the top of the shoulder to the band. And I'll serge this with the binding up and the bodice down, just because it'll pull through that bodice that's slightly longer than the binding. And the compression there just really allows the wrap to stay secure. Okay. And so I'm going to sew the other sleeve band together. Once again, just to let me pin the sleeves on. So there's our back and our shoulders and the binding. This dress is reversible, but I do assume most people will wear it with the V at the front. So there's a slight difference in my sleeves front to back, but I still orient it as if the V is at the front. So there's just a little more room in the back of the shoulder there. And I just pin top of shoulder for most sleeves. Oops. And then I will sew the sleeves on, starting at one armpit and then over the top of shoulder and down to the other armpit. I'm a little obsessive about clipping things apart. I know I don't need to interrupt my stitching to do that, but I don't like when serger tails get caught in seams, and it helps me stay organized. It's not necessary, and I'm sure speedier sewers wouldn't do it. So I'm moving on to the other sleeve. And that's how far I'm going with the bodice now. And then this is the ties. Those are our sleeve bindings. And then I have the skirts. So I'm going to sew the skirt side seams next. So I'm laying out the back skirt. Right sides up. And then the front skirts right sides down. And I just like to keep, as often as possible, my the serge orientation the same. So I'm going to sew down down one side seam and up the other. If you have any fabric that's particularly skewy, you might prefer to sew in the same direction, so down the side seams no matter what, but this fabric is pretty stable, so I like to keep my serge orientation consistent. Alright, and up from the bottom of the skirt on the other side. Now, it's gonna seem like a really fast sew for this dress, but I have a lot of experience. I've made hundreds of these dresses. So don't be impatient with yourself if it takes you longer. Okay, so here's the bodice. I'm going to set that aside for a second and just hem the skirt. So this is a really cheap little serger. I like to have a home serger around because of roll hemming mainly. Jersey fabrics, it can be very convenient. So a roll hem is a three thread serge, and you have like 4, 4, and 8, or 4, 4, and 6. This one I've just slowly come to an agreement with, and we do 4, 5, and 8. And it's a very narrow hem finish that's really well balanced. It has a little bit of stretch, but not a ton. But this isn't under pressure. This things I use a roll hem for. I like this one because it has differential feed, so I'm feeding in just about 1 1/4 of the speed that you would like, faster than 1. And I have a pretty short stitch length. It's just between F and 2. This is a Singer finishing touch. You can get them from Costco for about $200, so it's gonna sound like a train wreck when I start sewing. And just go with it. So, oops, wrong foot pedal. No. Okay. So I'm serging down one side. this serge, I just keep a little bit of tension on the fabric to keep it even, front and back. Okay, and I'm going to take the needle just to the edge of the fabric and then lift it up. I'm going to lift the presser foot and then I'm going to unhook the fabric from the pin that the stitch forms on and then turn the fabric 90 degrees. And I'm sitting the edge of the fabric right under the needle, and then I'm just gonna grab with some tweezers the very corner, and I'll use that to help. I'll hold the fabric down on this side and then pull a tiny bit with the tweezers on the other side just to get it feeding. And there it started. So then I will just serge as usual. So that's my corner. I'll just tuck that fabric in after. I like to turn the corner without breaking the thread because that'll be a stronger corner. If you have trouble with machines jumping around it, this one usually sits somewhere else. You can use this non-slip plastic. Not working. Hello. Hello. We went to Giant Tiger and I got 3 pineapples. 3 pineapples. They were on sale. All right. Okay. So I'm turning that corner again. So this was less pretty than normal because I'm trying not to get my head in the shot, so I'm not bringing my face as close to the machine as I normally do. But I'm just going to try and pull it into the serge, this end here. So I have a large-eyed needle and then a bodkin, and then a hemostat to hold the needle. Okay, and there's just a little bit of fabric sticking out, so I'll just cut that off. And there we go, we have a tidier corner. And the bodice gets a bit of a finish down the right side. So I just follow that. This is the right side, this is the sleeve, and this is the front right. And I'm just serging, roll hemming maybe a 2.5 inch section. And then veering off. So that's the skirts and the bodice, and then we have the ties. So I'll just roll him down one side and up the other. And the ties are not mirror images of each other. Both of them, I have this corner to turn, which is easier, and then this sharper corner. It's easier to come up onto the straight grain than, say, have to turn a sharp corner up onto the cross grain. So they're both the same. can't tell what's going on without putting my head forward, so. Okay. It's just flipping a little bit. Okay. So I'm holding the end with my tweezers. Okay. Okay, so then we'll finish the bodice. So this side seam has the opening for the tie. So I'll serge down to about 2 inches above the waist and then veer off. And it'll have a long tail here, so I'm going to pull it in. And then we'll bind the arms. So that's the bodice done. Like that. And then we'll attach it to the skirt. And just here where the bottom of the opening is, I'm going to put both ends together and then fold them over like this, and then offset it with the serge where it joins the skirt. So this is just something you want to pin, and don't just pull the pin out willy-nilly or your opening will open up. To be very careful when you're serging. So those are the backs pinned. On the sides, we have a side, like side front skirts and bodices. I just step the skirt back from the bodice about a ½ inch so that I can attach the ties. So I'm just coming up on the opening here. So I'm going to stitch as close as I can to the pin, and now it's firmly under the presser foot, so as long as I don't yank on it, it should be fine. Alright, so there is the dress with the skirts attached like that, and then we just need to attach the ties. So the front bodice now looks like this. There's this edge of the skirt and the front of the bodice and the binding. So I'm going to wrap this tie around that front bodice and binding. So I'm folding the serge where the skirt attaches up underneath, and then placing the edge of the tie over it, but there's still room for the other edge of the tie under that. So when I put them together, the front edge hides the back edge. And I'll pin there. And then I'll just loop my finger into the binding and just pull that taut to the tie. And then pin the top edge of that join. And the same on the other side. So I'm folding this so you can't really see it. It's on the underside. And then putting the edge of the binding, edge of the tie over there, and then wrapping it and putting the back edge of the tie underneath that. I don't know if I'm making sense, and I don't know if it matters, but that's how I do it. And then I just serge on and off of this so that I have tails on both sides, and I pull those in, and that should secure it very well. So I already have a tail here. Instead of sewing continuous like I normally do, I'm going to serge on and off again. And then the same on the other side, if I can find it. Exhibit A, why I haven't tried to make sewing videos in the past. It's just a lump of fabric. Okay, there we go. Okay. So these are our ties attached. going to use a bodkin to pull the tails in. All right, so there, if I pull the ties over, you'll see that the bodice is sandwiched between the edges of the tie. And there's our hole there where the opposite tie goes through. And that's our wrap dress. It's bigger than the space I have to film, so thank you.